Women make up 50.8% of the US population. They earn almost 60% of all college degrees, and they account for 49% of college-educated workforces. And so it would only make sense, right, that they would assume an equal percentage of leadership in the fields that they occupy. But this is not the case. So in politics, women make up half of our voting public, but they're only about 19% of congressional officials. They're about half of law school graduates, but they're only 18% of partners of major firms. They account for a whole third of MBA graduates, but they're an extremely small percentage of CEOs. So the highest percentage of female CEOs was in 2017, and that year 32 women headed major firms for a total of 6.4% of all CEOs. The first female CEO didn't make the Fortune 500 list until 1972, and that was Katharine Graham of the Washington Post Company. The representation of women of color in corporate leadership is even smaller. They're only about 3.9% of executives and 0.4% of CEOs. A review of research points to the conclusion that there are really tangible benefits to putting more women in positions of leadership. So companies should be encouraging diversity in all sectors, and specifically when it comes to hiring and promoting women into the highest ranks of their organizations. I want to talk a little bit about a 2016 study by the University of California. So what these researchers did was they explored the idea that an increase of female leaders actually helps businesses thrive. And so they found that in 400 major companies in California, the really biggest corporations, the median return on assets and equities was the greatest for the 74% of companies that had the most number of female executives. And so from this, we can tell that more women in leadership is actually going to help the bottom line of a company. And in addition, there was a Weber-Shandwick Gender Forward Pioneer Index made in 2016, and a major finding of this research actually was that companies that were designated with this Fortune status of most admired overall had more women in upper management, sometimes nearly double as many women in upper management as companies that didn't have this status. Inclusiveness in leadership signals that a company is committed to equal opportunity and that they represent a really diverse array of perspectives. So organizations with a culture of equal opportunity will be able to attract and retain the most talented individuals, and they'll also be able to tap into different perspectives, and that's really, really important when it comes to encouraging creative problem solving, finding new ideas, and searching for new information. So the same Weber-Shandwick research that we talked about before also finds that 3/4 of global executives believe that gender equality can be achieved in C-suites by 2030. But these same executives, most of them do not actually even have a plan for achieving this, and they don't consider it one of their primary business goals. So in order to make gender diversity in leadership a best practice, companies need to make this goal a business priority. And this includes addressing several barriers for women who are looking to achieve leadership positions. So first of all, workplace flexibility needs to be increased, because childcare responsibilities, as we know, have always fallen primarily to women. And so companies should offer employee benefits that are going to help them, and this includes flexible hours, telecommuting, paid maternity leave, and they also shouldn't be holding meetings at times when childcare is necessary, like early in the morning or later in the evening. And women may also be lacking the confidence to apply for a promotion or negotiate their salary. So if companies can create a culture where women feel comfortable advocating for themselves, then more opportunity will be created for them because they will have the confidence to seek it out. And so now in the field of public relations, the lack of female representation in leadership is unexpectedly pronounced. And this is because women actually dominate this field at every level except for the top. So from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we can find out that women hold the majority of all positions in PR in lower levels, comprising over 60% of the industry and 70% of PRSA members. But ironically, they hold less than 30% of the top positions in PR. Global PR companies, the very biggest companies, are especially guilty of this imbalance, with the majority of these large firms being run by men. So how is it fair that women make up the majority of the field, yet they still are not holding the positions at the highest levels? The skills that women use every day in public relations, like empathy, collaboration, communication, responsiveness, these are all the skills that are going to make them really powerful leaders. So as the public relations field in our world as a whole continues to evolve, diversity and equal representation is going to become even more critical. Practitioners should be questioning why an industry that is so open to women has so few of them at the very top. Companies should take cues from the organizations that have already committed themselves to balancing out gender in leadership, because their example shows that truly equal leadership is the best practice.